Hello, everyone. Good morning. The Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance. Good morning, Ma. Our Mirai partners, good morning. Distinguished school leaders, all directors here present. Good morning to everyone online, all evaluators present. Welcome to another edition, exciting edition of EQA Professional Development Training. We've really come a long way with this workshop, almost 3 months now that we've had this professional workshop. The first series started 21st September, and we are in December now. That's almost 3 months. We've had 3 series. We're on the third series of about 20 modules. And today's happens to be the 18th module, if I'm correct. The DG Ma would like to have your welcome address, Ma. Over to you.
Okay, as we can see, the other facilitator is not here
I don't
yet.
know if we can hear the DG.
The other facilitator is not here yet.
Or is it just me? DG Ma? Okay, so please let us know in the chat box if you can hear us while you introduce yourself in the chat box. Let us know where you're what school you're representing, the district where you're joining us from. Also, please do know that this workshop is being streamed live on our YouTube channel at EQA Lagos. And all the past modules can be found on www.lagoslearnstogether.com. And it can also be found on our YouTube channel at EQA Lagos. DG Ma, I don't know if you can hear us, or please let us know in the chat box, Ma, if you can hear us. We await your welcome address. DG Ma, I don't know if you can hear us, or please let us know in the chat box, Ma, if you can hear us.
Can you hear me?
Welcome address.
Can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, Ma. Now.
Can you hear me? Okay, someone has chatted and said that they can hear me clearly, although I didn't get an oral response from Ms. Fauzia, but that's okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's PD session. Today, we're going to be focused on developing a digital strategy. Before we go further, I'd like to observe a moment of silence for the students that have lost their it's been a trying week for the state in the education sector, and we pray that the Lord Almighty continuously be with the family of those that have departed, and of course, healing for those that are injured. So I'd like to observe a moment of silence before we move forward. May their souls rest in peace. So on a lighter note, we will continue with our trading session today. This session is different. Welcome to those of you that are joining us for the first time or the first time in a long time. My name is Abiola Seriki-Ayeni. I'm the Director General, Office of Education Quality Assurance, and we do have the mandate to ensure quality in all schools through the setting of standards, monitoring, and evaluation. Now, understandably so, we have four major stakeholders, number one being learners, being teachers, third being school proprietors, school leaders, and of course, fourth being parents. So it's very natural that we decided to support our teachers and school leaders through Lagos Learns Together with this PD, professional development with the DG. It has a little bit of a rhyme. So now let's get into the reason why we're here. Normally we do have another facilitator, but she's recording, so we'll see how that goes. That's a little different for me. And I think it's very much in alignment with what we are talking about today, which is developing a digital strategy for your school. Now, if we want to get the most of this session, we need to discuss some ways of working, just like you would in a classroom, the expectations that you have for your students. So we want to make sure that we are present and that we are avoiding distractions. Please participate and use the chat box for questions and constructive comments. Do the activities. Please do the activities. You definitely benefit more when you are engaging in the topic in depth, when you're doing it to see if it works, if it doesn't work, if things need to be scaled up or scaled down to fit the purpose of your school environment, or if you're working with teachers or school leaders, okay, it may be slightly different. So do them so you know what needs to be tweaked by the time you are using the train the trainer approach. I do also want to say that I believe we have, after this session, we have about 2 or 3 more left. Ms. Sazia, correct me somewhere here, but we've done about 12 sessions. And we're rounding up as the year comes to a close. Please be reminded that all of the material will be available at the videos will be available on OEQA Lagos YouTube channel, but all of the materials, the PowerPoint deck that you can use is downloadable for free at lagoslearnstogether.com.
Absolutely, ma'am. We have just 2 sessions left, ma'am.
Okay, after this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 3 more sessions. So we'll round it up towards the end of the year. So next slide. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, you're playing it.
Yes, about some. Okay. Can we see the slides, please?
Not yet.
Okay, let me just play it again now. Okay.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'll just take you through the agenda. Obviously, you've had your welcome and ways of working. I do apologize for any background noise you may hear. This is followed, of course, now by the objectives and the icebreaker, which will be in the form of a poll. We'll then look at the components of digital transformation. We'll look at different ways of benchmarking. You'll actually have an opportunity as well to benchmark yourself. We'll look at how that can be translated into action planning.
I'm sorry, can we pause this and just get some feedback from the audience if they're able to hear?
Okay, so please would like to know in the chat box if you can hear. Could you hear the video, the audio clearly?
I could hear, but it doesn't, on my end, it doesn't seem like it's too clear. So I just wanted to get a feel for where everyone was in case we need to re-strategize or move forward. So I just wanted to get a feel for if people are able to hear it well, because it's pre-recorded.
In the chat box, because we have some pre-recorded versions of this training. So please let us know if the quality of the audio is okay. Okay, also please do know that because it is over the internet, it could come a little bit later or slower.
Okay, so,
yes.
So Fauzia, it seems like it's not so clear. So as a result of that, I think I will re-strategize, and we would put the pre-recorded, we will minimize the pre-recorded portions to the polls. So if you can just have if you can just put up the PowerPoint, and I'll just take everyone through the agenda and the objectives of the session. Everyone thus far has said that it is not clear.
Okay, very well, ma. So we will make do with the plain PowerPoint without the pre-recorded audio versions inserted in it.
Yes.
Okay, ma. Okay.
What are the objectives for?
So this is the thing I just wanted to comment as Ms. Fauzia helps to put the session back up. Oftentimes, when you are doing a training, or especially if you're doing it online, there are different things that may come up. So for instance, a facilitator may not be available. So it's probably a best practice to see if you do pre-record, to make sure that you've tested it and make sure that it is clear, and that there's always a backup plan. Okay, so in as much as we do love the recording that Ms. Christine has done, because we're using it via Zoom, we're noticing that there may be some lag time. I will still give Ms. Christine another opportunity. We can try it at another time, but just so we get kickstarted, I want us to just go directly into the session. Please pull up the PowerPoint.
Okay, ma'am.
And good morning. It seems like we have almost 50 people up. Thank you so much for your patience. Normally we do start at 10, but we didn't realize that we changed it to 10:30, but we didn't indicate that on the flyer. So we do apologize for any inconvenience that may have caused. Is the PowerPoint coming up, please?
It's just 1 minute, ma.
Okay. Okay, no problem.
It should be coming up any minute from now. think it's still the one with the pre-recorded version that I need to.
Okay, no problem. I'll just move forward, and if we see it on the PowerPoint, fine. If not, let's just move forward. But I think for the purpose of this, we should use the plain PowerPoint, not the one with the videos that are embedded. If you have the plain PowerPoint, like the one that was printed.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I have it. Can we see it now? I think I'm projecting that now.
What we see is the YouTube.
Oh, so many tabs opened on my phone, on my device.
Okay, can we go back to the objectives? Okay, let's start with the agenda because we weren't able to read that. Okay, so developing a digital strategy. Let's jump to the agenda, please. We've done the welcome. We will go over the objectives and the icebreaker. Then we'll talk about the components, the different aspects of a digital transformation, right? So notice it's not just coming up with a digital plan, but the different things that will allow this digital part of your system to be transformative. Then we will go over some benchmarking, how we can set some standards for this digital transformation. We can know how far we've gone, how much more, how much further we need to go. Then planning. How do we plan towards a proper digital strategy, and how do we plan for it to be transformative? Then we're going to go over a case study, and then there'll be question and answers. And we will make this font larger because we see that it is quite small for those of us that have to revert to glasses, reading glasses. Okay, so the objectives of this workshop are to understand the 3 phases of a digital transformation. What are those phases? How do we really understand them? Then we're going to evaluate the digital state, how things are now, and we're going to set goals as a result of that. And the next thing we're going to do is design a basic digital transformation action plan to meet 1 to 2 goals. We do want to make sure that our goals are not too many where it feels hopeless, but we do want to make sure that we're having just bite-sized, right? When I say bite-sized, think of something you just quickly put in your mouth, right? Very quick and small. So meet 1 or 2 bite-sized goals, something that you can have a goal and you can be successful with it. Next slide. So there's a poll that we have here, and I really want you to think about where you fit into this poll. Now, are you a digital native, a digital nomad, a digital immigrant, or not so digital at all? That's 4 different categories. The goal of the digital transformation should be to be able to use data better. There's data everywhere. There's informal data, there's formal data. So how can we use any type of data that comes our way? How can we use it better to inform what we do in the classroom or at the administrative level? Another goal of a digital transformation should be more personalized teaching and learning. If we're able to get more data on how our students are doing, what works, what doesn't work, how our teachers are faring, then we can make sure that we're targeting the individual learning of our different students. And it also affects how teachers can also be able to do their job better. Okay, we know that during COVID, so many things have come out. At the very beginning of COVID, when we realized that, you know, to COVID, some schools may have decided that if you have a pre-existing condition, can you hear me?
We can, Gigi, and the poll is up. I don't know if you can see it on your device, and people are taking the poll, as you just said, mentioned the poll, ma'am. The poll has been.
Okay. If you can just put it up again for me, I've probably minimized it. Okay. And then more efficient school administration, all of the above, none of the above. Okay. So if you can just put the poll back up, there's a way in which I can see it. Let me see. Okay, it looks like I'm able to see it so far. And 10 of 51 participants have filled it out. So let's keep going. Let's try to at least get to half. So I'll give us about 3 more minutes to do that, please.
We need more participation. We have about 38% of our participants actually taking the poll. 19 out of 50 of our participants are on the poll.
Okay, so it looks like we're basically all over the place. And we're basically all over the place. There's no other way to state that. 35% of us consider ourselves digital native, 22% consider digital nomad, digital immigrant, 29%, not so digital at all, that's 13%. That's pretty good. And then in terms of the goal of the transformation, it seems like most of you, about 20, just 5 of you though, have stated that better use of data is really the goal of digital transformation. And then in terms of more personalized teaching and learning, only 8%. So this is pretty interesting information as we move forward. It would be interesting to see how this plays out as we move forward in the training. So let's move on, please. Okay, thank you. So the 3 phases of digital transformation, okay? So phase 1 is really to assess the environment, performance, and digital maturity of the school. So this is just like a baseline assessment. You cannot proffer solutions until you actually figure out what actually needs solutions, okay? So you need to be able to assess the environment. So what type of things are already on ground at the school? Performance, how have we been doing with what we have on ground? And in terms of digital maturity, where are we when it comes to digitization? Okay, so it includes benchmarking within and outside of the market. So you're thinking about the resources that are available to you, not just as a school, but maybe what government has been able to provide to you, what private industry has been able to provide to you. Where are you? Then you look at the performance data of the students. How are students doing? Is it with their work, with their continuous assessment? What mode does this typically play out into? Then do a SWOT analysis, a SWOT summary. So you're figuring out the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, okay? So you are having a SWOT summary of performance highlight. So you are able to look at all of the key things within your environment as you assess, and you say, for instance, for number one, let's say you are talking about your digital tools within the school, your computers, for instance. You would do a SWOT. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? So some people may say, okay, we have computers, but we don't have a computer teacher. Some people will say we have computers, but we don't really have reliable data. Or we have computers, but we have no computer room to keep them secure, right? So you really need to figure out, yes, you have these things, but what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats when it comes to the performance highlights? Then in terms of the digital maturity model, what is your current state? Where are you now? If you were to think of it like taking a picture, you know, a picture only takes a snapshot of what you see now. Where are you right now? Not where were you last year, but not where you'll be tomorrow, but where are you right now? So that is very important. And that will, all of the information in phase one will feed into phase two. You need to be able to define and communicate the digital strategy and the plan, okay? So with the digital maturity model, you really want to focus on your desired state. Where do you want to be, right? Where are you now? Where do you want to be? Where does it make sense for you to be, given what is possible, what you think is possible in the next 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, or whatever have you? Then you need to be able to have strategic objectives. You need to be able to build your team around these objectives. And of course, you need to be able to budget. So what type of expertise do you already have on ground? Sometimes you'll be surprised, someone that is teaching English or teaching math, maybe they're very good at fundraising. Maybe someone who's a science teacher, maybe they teach coding on the side and they're very good when it comes to IT. So it's not just looking at the official titles of your team members, but really assessing their different strengths and the different things that they bring to the table, including limitations for them. And then, of course, budget. You can't plan towards what you don't know the amount for. So you can't just say, oh, I need money. They tell you how much, they ask you how much you are not able to say. So you need to actually figure out line item by line item, what will the budget for this thing be? Then what are the different technologies to consider to be able to reach your objectives? What are potential initiatives that you can come about or you can start? Think about the different case studies and financial models that may be existent. Oftentimes, when we think of case studies, we think of business school, MBA, and all that. But there's so many case studies, even within the education sector in Nigeria, in Lagos, and outside. So how can we be purposeful in gathering case studies? And if there are existent case studies for schools, I mean, for businesses, how can that align to our business of schooling? That also includes the financial models. We need to really also think about how we can prioritize the different initiatives. So there's so many initiatives that will come your way. How will you be able to prioritize those things that should come first and that are most important? Some people will say that if we want to go about a policy or strategy, we must have stakeholder meetings, because these stakeholders, if you have a plan and you do it without them, stakeholders will crush it before it sees the light of day. So you need to think about what initiatives need to be prioritized in order for your strategy and your plan to actually make it to the end. Then we need to consider overall digital transformation and change management plans. And then we need to have a detailed plan for each initiative. I know this seems like a lot. It actually is. But if you think about it as small steps, each one having small steps, you can delegate so that different parts of your teams are able to work on different aspects of this digital transformation and then come together and present. Now, based on phase 1 and phase 2, you go on to phase 3. Implement, track, and manage progress. And oftentimes, this is where we drop the ball. Right? This is sometimes where we drop the ball. We've come together, we've thought through the different processes, we've done the research. Okay, how do we implement? Do we think we're just going to implement a one-time thing, cut a ribbon, have an event, and that is that? Or has the work just actually started? Okay, so you need to think about what are the governance structure and rules that are in place or that are guiding your digital transformation. What are strategic objectives and KPIs? And what are their statuses? It's very important to keep track of the status of your KPIs because number one, you are able to hold certain team members accountable. And you're also able to quickly support those things that need help. Oftentimes when we're doing a program and you've delegated to different teams or sets of people, it's difficult to keep track of where everyone is all of the time. But if you have a sort of tracker, if you have a tracker to say, okay, for this first quarter, this is where we are. So this department is in the green, this department is in the yellow, this department is in the red. And then maybe on a week-to-week basis or month-by-month basis, depending on what is best for your school, you can then hone in on, okay, those that are doing well, what is it that they're doing well that other people can learn from? Those that are not doing so well, how can we support them better? And of course, a communication strategy and implementation updates. So how do we follow a plan for when things will be updated? Ahead of time, we should know that. And then of course, the final thing, the lessons learned. How do we learn? There's absolutely no point in putting so much work and effort into such a plan and initiatives and you can't learn lessons. I can say that even as I've been DG for EQA and we have been thinking and working through our digitization process, I've learned so much from the beginning up until now, from when we started the website to when we started putting courses. We've learned so much and we've used those learnings to make things better. So you must have a way embedded in where you are learning lessons, where you are reflecting on where things are. Next phase. Now, I won't talk so much now. So there are 5 core domains when we're thinking about a proper digital strategy. Okay. Number 1, social media. How are you using social media? Are you using it for hiring, to put out updates on when your school has vacancies? Are you using it for learning? Maybe just a post on something that can upskill parents or upskill teachers? Are you using it to toot your horn? Are you using it to promote your brand? What are you it for? Then second is the Internet of Things, or IoT. Do you have sensors that let you know if children are left behind on a bus, or if a parent has come very late to pick up a child, or if a child has not submitted their homework on time? How are we able to use existent tools on the internet? How are we able to use existent tools to make things easier, right? Are we still using paper for planners? Are we using WhatsApp to disseminate the plan of the principal for the week or the schedule? Are we doing newsletters? How are you using the internet to help you along this process? Then thirdly, with big data, how are you collecting and using data? Harvest analytics. Please excuse me.
Okay, so while we wait for the digit to come back online, you can zoom in on the slide and just read through the core domains, the 5 core domains that we have. And she has mentioned the social media. How are you utilizing it? Or are you just going on Facebook and posting your picture? So you should use it to your advantage. She has talked about Internet of Things. How are you maximizing all the things, all the research that so many people have done and put online for you to be able to tap into digitalization. And then she will go on to the next 3 core domains. So you can just read through it and have a pre-information.
Okay. Okay, I'm back. So sorry about that. Thank you, Miss Fauzia. So we've talked about big data. How are you using data? So gone are the days where you just collect all students' assignments and you just put it in one folder. What is the point? When things are automated, even if it's just their grades, you'll be able to see at a glance what particular topics students are having difficulty with. Maybe you can even decide how you can support the teacher more. If you notice that every child in year 7 had a problem with this particular topic, you know, so big data can really be helpful. And there are things that we already have. We have this data, we already have it. So how are we able to better use it? Then cyber security. How are we able to ensure that there's security, not just for our students, but also, as an example here, could you lose online plans if a teacher closes their Gmail account? Are people still using their personal email accounts? If someone leaves your institution, will they be able to take all the data and information that has been used to do that work? You need to think about that up front. And that's why it's so important that we use the institutionalized email addresses and their processes and procedure for when people leave a place, or when they leave a place, or even if it's leave a campus, access to the information that is particular to that role will no longer be accessible to them. Then third, and cybersecurity, we could actually go way, way further, right? We can think about, you know, with students, what are the rules for them so that there's no cyberbullying and that they're secure and that people don't have access to websites they shouldn't be going to and all of that. Then mobility. Are your systems mobile first? We must be honest about the type of environment that we are in. And in fact, our phones have become everything. Our phones have become our cameras, our video recorder, our planners, our birthday reminder. I mean, everything is on the phone. So we need to be honest about how people are using their phones. We're not just using phones to make calls. In fact, I'm sure if they were to do a poll, we even use phones for many other things besides making a mobile phone. I mean, making a mobile phone call, sorry. So do we have systems that are mobile first? Are students able to use mobiles in the classroom? And I know that this is often, this is somewhat controversial sometimes, because we know how mobile phones can be very distracting for adults, talk less, or for children. But these are things that we need to really just address, whether we like it or not. At this point, I really would like to think, I would like our participants to think about these different domains and how these domains could potentially influence education in your schools. What do you think you need to be able to leverage on these domains? So I'm going to give you about 4 minutes, and I want you to think through all that we've said. It's pretty big. Social media, Internet of Things, big data, cybersecurity, and mobility. How could these domains be used to influence education in your schools? Please give us some ideas in the chat.
Okay, just as DJ has said, we'll be expecting responses now in the chat box. Looking at the 5 core domains that has just been introduced to us. How could each domain improve education in your own school? Please let us have your contributions on the chat box.
Okay, it doesn't seem like we're getting much participation. This is not as big as it may seem. Okay, just think of these 5 different buckets of information. How could each one be used to improve education at your school? You don't have to address every single one. It could be one. But if you were to walk out of this course today, and if we were to say focus on one of these domains and how we could improve education, what would it be and how? How would it improve education at your school?
We have somebody raised up a hand, DJ. I don't know if she'd like to contribute verbally.
Okay.
We have raising up their hands. Okay, Ms. Abolore, you had your hand raised. Would you like to talk about any of the domain? Please unmute yourself. Ms. Tobun Fatima Abolore. Okay, while we wait for a response, we're still expecting participation in the chat. Okay. Probably she raised her hands and she didn't know.
Okay, well, let's move forward.
We have a comment in the chat box, ma. Somebody said through the use of projector. I wouldn't know what domain, probably Internet of Things. Miss Comfort said through the use of projector. And then Mr. Akim Adewusi also said, my school needs to be digital in the aspect of big data. We do have a computer room, but not connected to the internet.
So yes, that Mr. Akim Adewusi, yes, that makes sense. And if you think about it, that is even part of that, it's part of that first phase of what you would be doing in creating a digital plan, where you'd have to look at a snapshot of where your school is now. So I'm glad you're able to do that. So if you were to flip what Mr. Adewusi has said, so he does think of big data, right? And then he's been able to state what is holding the school back in being able to do that. So no access to internet. Could it be that we're using phones? We know our phones have internet. Okay, our phones have internet. So how could you maybe use your mobile phone? So this ties into big data and mobility. Okay, think of maybe the ways in which you want to be able to collect data. So for instance, are you going to be the one as the teacher that's entering that information? So maybe something as simple as attendance for students. Maybe if you can use a Google form or something on your own, on your phone, then you can say, okay, Monday, there was 100% attendance, Tuesday, 25%, Wednesday. So that is you taking control of some data. Sometimes the onus has to be on the teacher to decide that I want to be able to use data in my classroom more effectively. And this is how I'm going to do it. But that does not mean that it is automatic. Sometimes, especially when you want to lift off, when it's not something that the school does, you have to sort of do a little bit of heavy lifting. Okay, but I like that you're thinking through that. Someone else mentioned to be connected to my laptop or phone. Okay, can you tie that in to a domain that is your comfort for Yemi? Then someone said distance barrier to learning is removed through mobile class on the internet. Absolutely agree. So someone who lives very, very far, teacher or students, can have access to learning from where they are. And where would that fit actually? I think that would fit with the Internet of Things, right? Using the like Zoom, for instance, using Zoom for schooling, remote learning. Okay. Okay, it seems like we have, okay, your comforts for Layemi said Internet of Things. Yes, I agree. Okay, Akin said social media makes it much more easier to address many of our administrative duties, learning and teaching activities. Great, even something as simple as notice, right? You can put it on your social media handles. Tomorrow is midterm, next week is midterm. Okay, information now becomes instant. Okay, good one. Okay, great, let's move on. We actually don't have much time because we started a little later than we previously have done. So it's very important that we benchmark and we self-evaluate. We know that as the Office of Education Quality Assurance, school self-evaluation is really important because the school is able to, first of all, know what the expectations the state has of them, and then they're able to internally benchmark themselves before we even do an external evaluation. And this is no different, okay? This is no different. Microsoft, One Schoolhouse, and others provide outstanding benchmarking tools. What follows is a very simple consolidation of multiple tools, but it's not comprehensive. Just very simple tools that you can walk away using today. There's no right or wrong when it comes to your current status of self-evaluation. Where you are is where you are. Okay, and it's important for it to be accurate and for us not to benchmark ourselves too low or too high. We want to benchmark ourselves as is accurately capture where we are. Okay, so being efficient and being accurate is really important. And it's simply, obviously, the best description when it comes to where your school is to date. Okay, so move on to the next slide. Hello.
Yes, DG, I'm on the next slide.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so we're going to talk about how you can access PD with the DG, okay, on Lagos Learns Together. So this is not anything that's very difficult, but you can do this on your own, on your mobile phone. So go to www.lagoslearnstogether.com. Okay, So that is where that first, the first picture is sort of pointing to, right? Then you click on PD with the DG. You click on the second slide, right? If you see where the purple line is going on top there, it says PD with the DG, exactly. No, on the second one, the second picture, yes. So you click on PD with the DG, then the third image is showing you're opening the digital strategy, and then you can open the Excel file.
Okay, we would like to know how many of our participants have actually gotten to that stage. Please let us know in the chat box. Go to www.lagoslearntogether.com on your mobile phone. Click PD with the DG, click Open Digital Strategy, and let us know if you can access the Excel file on the drive.
So there you'll see a digital self-sample. So you'll be able to use this tool. Very simple checklist. So I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to complete the benchmarking. But before we go into that, please, I want to make sure we've been able to access it. Can everyone try on their mobile devices to get on it now?
Okay, so I've just posted the link in the chat box, www.lagoslearntogether.com. So just click the link and follow what you see on your slide. And let us know if you have accessed the Excel sheet. Mr. Godwin, if you have accessed it, please just put it in the chat box, done, or access granted. Let us know in the chat box, please.
How many of us have gone on it? Oh?
Okay, Miss Oluwatoyin Omolara. Miss Oluwatoyin Omolara, can you access the file? Can you unmute yourself? Let us know if you've accessed the file. Mr. Abdul Latif. Or is it Miss Abdul Latif Bilikis? Are you able to access the Excel? Omolara. Okay, just
Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So this is what that checklist for self-evaluation would look like. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just where you are. But we all know that if we honestly assess ourselves as a 1 or 2, we would want to get to 6. That's just the honest truth, right? So you know where to focus your energy, your resources. Okay, so number 1, ensure digital daily collection of attendance data, store student and school data on cloud-based student management information system, provide teachers and parents with a context-appropriate learning management system, provide power through the school building. If we go further down, look for opportunities to use digital technology to engage with parents and carers. Ensure that appropriate career-long professional learning opportunities are offered to a range of educators. So, I mean, you can be on anywhere on that scale. The point is to even know where you are. If you know where you are, you can know where to focus your issues. And even if you've done everything, you can then further prioritize and say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on power and internet. And I'm at a 3 for power and at a 2 for internet. How will I focus on those 2 things? And that is okay. The point is to even know where you actually are. Okay, next slide. So it's quite quiet, and I'm not going to, due to time, where I'm not going to have you fill out the self-evaluation form, but normally I would have given you some time to do that. It's already 11:30 and we started at 10:30, so we're an hour in. You know what? It actually may make a lot of sense for you to even do that. Can we go back to that, to the checklist, to the benchmarking sheet? Let me give you about just 5 minutes, not even 10. And I want you to focus on to grade yourself on 3 components of this self-evaluation form. Grade yourself on 3 components. So 1, 2, okay. So the ones in purple are A, B, C, D, E. And then the ones in green are F, G, H, I, J, K. Okay, H, I, J. Let's use letters since we're going to use the score as a number, so it's not confusing. So just go from the top to the bottom for each line, give it an alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So it goes from A to J. Then for each letter, come up with a grade for where you are or where you believe your school is. So number 1, ensure digital daily collection of attendance data. Where are we with this? What's your score for that? B, store student and school data on cloud-based student management information system. Remember, cloud-based can also be Google Drive. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. C, provide teachers and parents with a context-appropriate learning management system. It says teachers and parents. Where are we with this? This is C. D, provide power through the school building. E, provide internet through the building. F, encourage educators to share innovative and effective practice, both face-to-face and through digital platforms. G, ensure that students and newly qualified staff are sufficiently supported in the appropriate and effective use of digital resources. H, look for opportunities to use digital technology to engage with parents and carers, allowing them to understand the benefits of digital technology in education. I, ensure that appropriate career-long professional learning opportunities are offered to a range of educators. That doesn't mean you are the ones that have created them. It's just ensuring that they are offered or they're available, either through in-house training or through, even if you've collated them and you've put them on a sheet and you're telling teachers, these are the courses you should access online. And then the last one, ensure learners are involved in sharing their digital experiences and skills, and that they are given opportunities to comment on the use of digital technologies to deliver learning and teaching.
As the DJ has explained, so we'd like to see numbers, we'd like to see scores attached to each of those letters. So if you think A, you score between 1 to 6, let us know what your score would be. Reading through reading through, then you put a score. So what do you think you have for A? What score are you at? For B, what score are you at now? For those that have accessed the link on the website, on Lagos Learns Together site, did you feel it? Did you take the self-evaluation? Mr. Akim Adewusi, I know you said you've accessed it. Did you take the self-evaluation? Alaji Akodu, did you take the self-evaluation? Okay, please kindly fill the self-evaluation, Mr. Akim. So let us know what score you are at the moment.
Okay, are we getting some answers? So now, next slide. Let's go to the next slide. Remember, it would have been great if you were able to do everything, but if you could not, that is fine. So what are your strengths? Look at your lists. What are your areas for development? And what would you prioritize to meet your school's goals? So remember, we've lettered them A to I believe, or J. What are your strengths, as you've noticed? What are your areas of development? And what would you set as a priority to meet the school's goals? Please indicate it in the chat.
I want to believe for the scores where you had 6 should be your strength. Where you are in the middle should be areas for development, and probably the one that you scored yourself the least should be where you want to prioritize. So let us know in the chat box. Review your list.
Okay, are we getting some answers in the chat box here?
Not yet.
Okay, let's start calling on some people, please.
Okay, ma. So I'll be calling on people to give us their contributions. I want to believe we are all using this medium to learn because this is digital strategy and we have to definitely utilize this. So may I call on Mr. Kende Ajibola? Mr. Olalekan Olarinde, if you hear your name, please unmute yourself and let us know what you've scored yourself from the self-evaluation that you filled.
I want to just remind us how important it is to actively participate. There's really no point in spending time here using your data if we're not going to participate. Let's see what we can take away from this course. Although these resources will be available, but like I said earlier on, it's not until you do some of these things will you actually learn. Okay, so I know we're all in we all have different access points, but please let us be participating.
Hello, ma.
Okay, Ms. Kende Ajibola.
Yes,
okay,
good
we can go ahead.
Yes, I
morning.
was unable to get the exact something, but I was able to move into the Lagos LAN together. But I click on PD with the DG, didn't take me to the digital strategy. I was not able to open the digital strategy. But looking at my school, taking my school as an example, looking at the ensuring digital daily collection of attendance data, I will score my school 4 there because in some classes, we have some classes that we refer to as the smart classes, where we have the interactive board. There we have access to data or to internet, whereby teachers take students there for lessons, but not all the classrooms. But we are working towards making sure that we have data access in all the classrooms area, so that any of the classrooms, even if we don't have interactive board there, we can put projector and teachers can make use of their laptops, project, and get work done on internet within the classroom, so that students can benefit from this digital access of a thing.
Thank you, ma.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and what about another one, ma'am?
Then student management information system. Yes, that area we can have 5. Because
is it cloud-based?
Ma?
Is it cloud-based?
Student, it says core student data on cloud-based. Yes, cloud-based.
Okay.
I will score us 5 there because we have the students have access to the school even when they are in school and when they are out of school, because we have a portal system whereby we interact with the students. It could be in form of teaching them, in form of giving them assignments, in form of interaction. We do that during the holiday. So I will access us 5 there because students have user ID card, they have their passcode. So through that, the school, the management, the class teachers, the subject teachers have access to the students, and the students can respond back.
Okay, okay. So I would assume you can also collate all of the results of their tests and exams, and you can see who was attended. Okay.
To the portal.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. So for the next one, I really want us to think through, the question was where you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what the school needs moving forward, right? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Thank you so much, ma'am. The next one, please. Okay, so this is a sample action plan. So for this school, maybe they've done that school self-assessment and maybe they scored a very low score on improving cyber security. So they scored a low score, but it was also very important for that school. You know, we talked earlier on about setting goals, and your goals have to be based on where you are, but actually also where you want to be. So this is a sample action plan based on where the school is and where the school wants to be. And their priority is to improve cybersecurity. So look at some of the challenges. Shared passwords for accounts, teachers use non-institutional emails. I'm guilty of that as well. Lack of cybersecurity sensitization, survey materials. Now, these are the challenges that they've recognized. Now, with that challenges, how are we going to know that we've done well? How are we going to identify our KPIs, key performance indicators? These are the challenges. These are the things, the KPIs are the things that we will know that, okay, we've moved a step in this direction. So look at this KPI. They've listed 4 here. Then they've listed people that are responsible for them. Very important. You can't just dump everything on the principal. You can't just assume that because you've talked about it, you've had a management meeting about it, that it will get done. It needs an owner. It needs an owner, and it needs a deadline. It must be time bound. So, cybersecurity training identified and delivered to admin and teaching of staff. Okay. School emails, as opposed to personal emails, are issued to staff and mandated for use. So maybe Mr. Yeni would have put out, you know, they would have done the emails. First of all, they have to figure out how the emails would be done, the coding of the emails for the names. So is it going to be, for me, would it be A. Seriki Ayeni or ASA123? So Mr. Yeni has to figure out all those things, the manner in which they're going to figure out how to do the emails, then how it's going to be disseminated with the passwords, how people be able to log on. Then it has to be mandated for use. How will it be mandated? Will you send a memo to everybody? Will you have a video? Will you have a circular? So this is a key performance indicator. School emails are issued to staff and mandated for use. But keep in mind, there are many smaller activities that go under this major KPI. Each KPI has several things that need to be done to get to this stage. The date for getting to this goal is January 31st. Then look at the next one, audit of active software accounts through the school, delivered. Then software licenses updated or expanded to ensure that there are no shared passwords. And notice that there are various dates. So everything is not due the same week. Everything is not due the same day. It may be based on prioritization. It may be based on how long it would actually take to get it done. But you need to have thought through that to come up with this action plan. Next slide. Now, this is a sample timeline. You know, we talked about the dates, but what is the journey to that date? What is the journey for that date? So this one now is talking about the auditing, right? So phase 1, design and deliver audits, review free cybersecurity training, maybe online. So this is the sample timeline for the entire project. And what will happen in phases? What is happening in phase 1, phase 2? Remember, you see there's a month for each to happen. Again, it's dependent on the activities that are needed. Some things are bigger than others. We know that even for Mr. Governor, he may do things in quarters or by years or per administration. Okay, move forward. Next slide. So we talked about this briefly, but what might be your area of focus? We talked about self-evaluation. And I think we may have to go back to that self-evaluation. But before we go there, sorry, before we go there, I want you to ponder on these three things. Please go back to that slide. Yes, go back. Yes. Based on your self-evaluation results, what might be an area of focus? What is your area of focus? Think about this. Next slide. What would be 3 reasonable improvements to make in a year? And this can be an academic year. What would be 3 reasonable improvements to make in a year? And then the next one. What actions might yield to these improvements? These are big questions. These are big questions. Okay, so I want you to think through that school self-evaluation and think with these overarching questions. I think I'm going to give you a little bit of time at the end to go through this. We have a case study next, but because time has been fast spent, we are not going to go over the case study. Okay. I can probably just read it. I'll just read the case study, but we're not going to go in depth. Again, it's something that you will just think through, okay? So, case GEMS Legacy School. GEMS Legacy School is an affordable Indian curriculum school in Dubai, similar to medium-stroke low-cost school in Lagos. When Mrs. Asha Alexander became principal 10 years ago, the school was marginally digital, so very low in digitization. Mrs. Alexander decided to stop purchasing textbooks and asked all students to come to school with a device. Imagine no textbook. Come with your device. We don't know if it is a phone or if it is a computer. This led to parents' pandemonium, as I can imagine as a parent. What do you mean you don't have textbook? What do you mean is online? You can imagine the type of pushback the average parent would have. Okay. Instead, she phased in required tabs for all students ages 4 to 12 over 2 years, while upgrading infrastructure to ensure the bandwidth could support the devices. So that is in terms of internet, she had to make sure that could happen. She then supported this by ensuring that all teachers took free MIE training and held regular exhibitions for parents and other stakeholders to showcase the impact of this work. Remember earlier on, I talked about stakeholders. Sometimes people do stakeholders last, and it should be one of the first things you do, because you can imagine parents are the ones that will be supporting their children. So they need to be on the same page. But how will you get them? How will you get them to see what you see? And what Ms. Asha did here is, first of all, she put a policy in place where the tabs were required, and then she gave herself some time to upgrade the existent infrastructure so that they had enough internet so that everyone could access it. Then she supported the teachers with training that they could find for free. And then there were opportunities for teachers to showcase the work that they were doing and how they plan to use digitization, and invited stakeholders in, invited parents to come and see. This is what we did. This is our online portfolio for art, for English, you know. Now, today, GLS is known around the world for using technology to improve school performance and student outcomes, and to engage students in pressing world issues such as climate change. So many things have gone on in between this small case study that is not mentioned, but we can see that there are certain key things that this principal actually did. Okay, so we are going to round up. And remember, this course is based on what it takes to develop a digital strategy, right? So you need to do the heavy lifting in thinking through what is required, where your school is, what is needed for your school to move forward in terms of those KPIs, and how you will actually get there. So these are questions that I want you to ponder on even beyond this workshop. I want to thank everyone. If we can go to the Q&A. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this workshop. It was definitely longer than we normally run for. We started at 10:30 and we're rounding up at close to 12. Now, this workshop was focused on developing a digital strategy. It's very broad. And if we were to do a follow-up workshop, it would delve in a bit deeper. I want to use this opportunity to take a few questions and answers that we may have about this workshop. And I want to remind us all that this is being live streamed on YouTube. You can access all of the materials by tomorrow on lagoslearnstogether.com. You can also access the self-evaluation form that we have. It's also being live streamed and will be available on YouTube after. So let's just take a few Q&As. But before then, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. God bless you.
So if you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand or you can just put it in the chat box while I read through. However, we have a comment in the chat box, not necessarily a question. I think this was the comment by Mr. Akim when he said that I want to say my school don't have a computer room, which is a strength. Okay, he's talking about the strength, and that though we are not connected with attendance, the issue of taking attendance digitally is not possible. We make use of projectors to teach a large class. Management of statistics is done by the Education Management System officer. And apart from that, our results are collated on the system. So that is where they are now, talking from where they are at their school. So please would like to have more questions and answer question in the chat box rather.
It would be interesting to look through why this person has said that attendance, the issue of taking attendance digitally may not be possible. So maybe it's not happening, but I don't know if it's impossible. I don't know if it's impossible. There are even simple Google Forms in which you can just have everyone's name, even if it's on your phone, you open up the Google form, you know who is supposed to be in your classroom, and you say in, not in, and it's submitted. And that's digital, you know. So I understand if you say that there's a system in your school that does not at the moment have digital attendance, but it would be interesting to see how that could work over some time. Thank you for your contribution. Any other ones, please?
Okay, I think we have one more, Ma. The resolution on our projector is small, so unable to use. This comment is coming in from Ms. Bilikis. My type of projector that they are using in their school.
Okay, so it's probably outdated or needs to be updated or something. I guess thinking through what you could use it for, I guess sometimes something is better than nothing. So what could you use it for?
Someone has an actual question, Ma. He says, how do government schools put digital signature as students are not allowed to bring phones to school? And this is talking about a boarding school.
Okay, so remember, really this course is about developing a digital strategy, although we've talked about what that may entail. Now, when it comes to many schools, phones are not allowed, even outside of Nigeria. They may say you have to keep your phone in your locker. You can only use it maybe after school or something like that. So that is understandable if students' phones, but that is also with the knowledge that those students probably have access to computers in schools. Now, where there are no devices and phones are probably the only devices to leverage on, in order for that to be successful, it is something that the school as a whole must address, right? So that means there needs to be some sort of structure in place. So maybe digital behaviors and expectations need to be taught to students about during school hours. This is how you are to use your phone. And if you don't use it in this way, then it will be taken away from you and you need to revert. So there are different things that work for different school populations. And I definitely cannot give a one size approach to that. But there are ways in which we can definitely teach children with the support of their families on how to effectively use technology in school. But it can be challenging also, so we earlier on we talked about digital maturity. We also have to think about, okay, the population or the demographic of our students are they ready for that right now? Are there other ways in which we can reach our goals without, bringing the world to them 24/7? Are there designated times that they can use their phone? Maybe they cannot use it the entire day. Maybe they can only use it for a portion, so it really boils down to your systems and procedures at the school-based level.
DG, if I may add to the digital signature, it could even be a scanner, like a fingerprint scanner at the entrance of the school, where students put that and then they take attendance of students in school. So just to add to that, that's another form of technology being implemented in your school. Somebody was asking, Ma, is it possible to take attendance digitally? My school is working on that already through our portal. Okay. From Mrs. Kende Ajibola.
Okay, so thank you all for today. We have gone from about 60-something. Many people have logged off, understandably so. So thank you, and we hope to see you next time. God bless you all. And thank you, OEQA team, for the support as always.
Thank you, ma'am. Do have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.